vichar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar.
Please repeat.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar. Mataji's Chandanacharya will have to get out of the way.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Vichara karite chitte bhave
Vichara karite chitte bhave
chamatkar.
chamatkar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar. Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar. Either the mother or the daughter. Choose one. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar. Vichara karite chitte bhave chamatkar. Word-to-word translations. Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Daya.
Daya.
His mercy.
His mercy.
Karaha.
Karaha.
Just put into.
Just put into.
Vichar.
Vichar.
Consideration.
Consideration.
Vichar.
Vichar.
When such consideration. Karile.
Karile.
Will be done by you.
Will be done by you.
Chitte.
Chitte.
In your heart.
In your heart.
Bhave.
Bhave.
You will get.
You will give it.
Chamatkar.
Chamatkar.
Striking wonder.
Striking wonder.
Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
If you are indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strikingly wonderful. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments in this connection that people in general, in their narrow-minded conception of life, create many different types of humanitarian activities. But the humanitarian activities inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are different. For logicians who want to accept only that which is proven through logic and argument, it is a fact that without logic and reason, there can be no question of accepting the absolute truth. Unfortunately, when such logicians take to this path without the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they remain on the platform of logic and argument and do not advance in spiritual life. However, if one is intelligent enough to apply his arguments and logic to the subtle understanding of the fundamental spiritual substance, he will be able to know that a poor fund of knowledge established on the basis of material logic cannot help one understand the absolute truth, which is beyond the reach of imperfect senses. The Mahabharata therefore says, Achintya khalu ye bhava natam starkena yojayet. Mahabharata Bhishma Parva 5.22. How can that which is beyond the imagination or sensory speculation of mundane creatures be approached simply by logic? Logic and argument are very poor in spiritual strength and always imperfect when applied to spiritual understanding. By putting forward mundane logic, one frequently comes to the wrong conclusion regarding the absolute truth. And as a result of such a conclusion, one may fall down to accept a body like that of a jackal. Despite all this, those who are actually inquisitive to understand the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through logic and argument are welcome. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami addresses them. Please put Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy to your crucial test. And if you're actually a logician, you will come to the right conclusion that there is no personality more merciful than Lord Chaitanya. Let the logicians compare all the results of other humanitarian work with the merciful activities of Lord Chaitanya. If their judgment is impartial, they will understand that no other humanitarian activities can surpass those of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everyone is engaged in humanitarian activities on the basis of the body. But from the Bhagavad Gita 2.18 we understand Antavatta ime deha nityas yokta sharirinaha. The material body is ultimately subject to destruction, whereas the spiritual soul is eternal. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philanthropic activities are performed in connection with the eternal soul. However one tries to benefit the body, it will be destroyed. And one will have to accept another body according to his present activities. If one does not therefore understand this science of transmigration, but considers the body to be all in all, his intelligence is not very advanced. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, without neglecting the necessities of the body, imparted spiritual advancement to purify the existential condition of humanity. Therefore, if a logician makes his judgment impartially, he will surely find that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Mahavadanyaya Avatara, the most magnanimous incarnation. He is even more magnanimous than Lord Krishna himself. Lord Krishna demanded that one surrender unto him, but he did not distribute love of Godhead as magnanimously as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami offers Lord Chaitanya his respectful obeisances with the words Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tushe Namaha. Madhya 19.53. Lord Krishna simply gave Bhagavad Gita by which one can understand Lord Krishna as he is. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, gave people love of Krishna without discrimination. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamakhim Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuda Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Radha Shri Vishakhantam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamani Pancha Kalpatrubyashta Kripa Sindhubhyo Cha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichara Karite Chitte Pabe Chamatkar. If you are indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strikingly wonderful. So this chapter, the consecutive verses, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, describes the quality and characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. And this is the place where it is revealed to us how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is more merciful than Lord Krishna himself. And this verse, it's a very interesting verse. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has also spoken on this. There was an incident once in the Gaudiya Math where a great Pandit had come to honor Prasadam, and he very much liked to eat. So now Prasadam, the Anna Brahma, the form of Krishna in the form of food, Krishna in the form of grains, Anna Brahma. So prasadam that we honor, that we eat, this is not different from Krishna himself. So, Ananta Vasudeva Prabhu goes up to this Pandit, and then he says, "Sir, if you're such a big logician," he says in Bengali, it's nice actually, but I can't memorize it. Huh?
Badi pandita tumi karaha vichar.
Right, similar to this. You're a big Pandit, so why don't you think? Why don't you apply some logic here? Why don't you apply some consideration? What is the consideration? Are you enjoying the prasadam or is the prasadam enjoying you? And he got all offended, you know. He said, oh, you know, he went up to Bhakti Siddhanta, and Bhakti Siddhanta, you know, spoke about this very nice section in the Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava. So, many people in this world are very proud of being, you know, very logical. Like, you know, I was speaking yesterday that a human being acts on the platform of logic. They have to apply some logic, but however skewed up that is, you have to have some reasoning as to why you're doing what you're doing. Animals do not require this, humans require this. And therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, he is saying, well, you know, you're used to, you know, if you consider yourself a great logician, if you consider yourself as very thoughtful and very logical, then apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and you will find it strikingly wonderful. Apply it. So, Prabhupada in this purport, he speaks of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Actually, Prabhupada is just bringing primarily Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary here. That people in general in their narrow-minded conception alike create many different types of humanitarian activities. But the humanitarian activities inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are different. For logicians who want to accept only that which is proven through logic and argument, it is a fact that without logic and reason, there can be no question of accepting the absolute truth. So for those who are interested in logic and argument, however much you talk of faith, they always want to understand things through logic and argument. So Srila Prabhupada is making this point here that there is no question of accepting the absolute truth without logic and argument. And which is why, I mean, you know, this is where some of the Abrahamic texts, they fall short because there's not so much logic and reasoning in there, you know, and then therefore over the history, especially in Europe, you know, you can see people who are dissatisfied and they come up with their own philosophies and own theories. But what happens? So that's what Prabhupada is, or Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada are stating here. Unfortunately, when such logicians take to this path, without the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they remain on the platform of logic and argument and do not advance in spiritual life. So they may come up with different theories, they may come up with different understanding. Like, you know, I always found this theory of, is it Deism? Taoism? Is that what it's called?
No, Deism.
Deism is where is where they have a philosophy like God is like a watchmaker.
He left the watch and left.
So he makes the watch like the watchmaker, and then he makes this universe, he creates this universe. And then, you know, whatever problems comes with the watch, he's not there anymore. He's gone. And then, you know, and this whole this is part of what is called in philosophy the problem of eternality, or the problem of eternity. So eternity, there's multiple problems of eternity. So if God is eternal, then what is he doing right now? You know, that's like the question. But if God is eternal, why is the universe not eternal? And then if God is eternal, and so the universe exists and God exists right now, then how come God is not able to solve all the problems in this universe or all the issues that are happening? And there's just so much speculation on the internet. It's like, and it's so boring. And I heard they make you read all this in philosophy classes.
Oh my God.
It's so boring, it's so dry. Everybody, they're coming up with their own speculations, and the more you read it, the more depressed you actually become. It's not, although technically these logicians and philosophers, they're coming up with all these theories because I guess they believe that it's a better alternative than what's available, right? They feel very inspired. But if you makes a lot of sense. Okay, so God is there, maybe he left. So this deism or the philosophy, I met a guy, so God is a watchmaker and he left. Just like, the watch is now with somebody, and the watchmaker, the manufacturer is somewhere, he has nothing to do with the watch. So like that, God created the universe and God knows where he went, but he went somewhere because the universe didn't create itself, so that's clear. So God must have created, but we don't know where the hell he is and we don't know what he's doing. And so it's not a very inspiring philosophy. Like, what kind of guy is this? He just creates something, it's so stupid, we're stuck in the middle of this. Okay, he created something, why do I have to deal with this? It's like, okay, you created a stupid watch that doesn't work properly, and now I have to deal with this watch. Why do I deserve to deal with this broken clock? It's like so many. These philosophies actually raise more questions than they answer. That's one of the characteristics of these kind of philosophies. And so they do not advance in spiritual life. And what happens is people read and they read, and then what happens is they think, well, I accept something that this guy said, and I accept something that guy said, and I pick it all together, and then I have my own philosophy, and then I'm talking about that to somebody else, and these people are just talking so many things. But all these things do not help them advance in spiritual life. None of these things help them advance in spiritual life. And so Prabhupada says here, however, if one is intelligent enough to apply his arguments and logic to the subtle understanding of the fundamental spiritual substance, he will be able to know that a poor fund of knowledge established on the basis of material logic cannot help one understand the absolute truth, which is beyond the reach of the imperfect senses. So all these philosophers, even the American transcendentalists, as they like to call them, they all try to apply their limited material conceptions. They superimpose their limited material conceptions on the absolute truth. Just like this example of the watchmaker. They reduced God into some kind of watchmaker. That's it. Like why? Because that's the reach they can get to. They can't think of anything more. They fail to understand that the absolute truth is beyond the realm of their limited material existence, and you cannot understand the absolute truth through your limited material senses. And therefore, the Mahabharata says, how can that which is beyond the imagination or sensory speculation of mundane creatures be approached simply by logic? Logic and argument are always very poor in spiritual strength and always imperfect when applied to spiritual understanding. By putting forward mundane logic, one frequently comes to the wrong conclusion regarding the absolute truth. And as a result of such a conclusion, one may fall down to accept a body like that of a jackal. So the reason is that one is trying to drag the absolute truth down into the realm of one's limited, mind, limited intelligence, trying to squeeze it in, and it's a very painful process. And it's really sad that in spite of how actually miserable it is, generation after generation are subjugated to learning this kind of nonsense that all these different people put forward. And all these schools, ultimately, when you go to school and you try to learn about philosophy, they do not establish which is better or which is worse. You just compare each other, and then you are the arbitrator, and then you come up with your own philosophy. These things do not bring about any benefit to the human society. Because what they do is, in the name of solving problems, they create more problems. And as a result, one falls down to accept the body like that of a jackal. Why? Because ultimately, what is the result of all these philosophies? Ultimately, these philosophies, one of the main questions they deal with, almost every single one of them, will deal with the subject of one subject. It's not necessarily God, but all of them have to somehow deal with one aspect of human society, which is like very fundamental to our existence. Huh? No, not necessarily. Some philosophies don't care about. Nope. Morality. They have to deal with morality. Because morality is what brings about any order in human society. Without any sense of moral code, there is no order in human society. So you need to have morality. But to put it simple, what is morality? What can be done and what should not be done. Right? But demons cannot understand what should be done and what should not be done. This is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. What does he say? Pravritim cha nivrtim cha janana vidurasuraha na saucham na api chacharo na satyam teshu vidyate. He says, Pravritim cha nivrtim cha. Pravritim, what should be done, what can be done, what is to be done, they don't know. And then, what do they also not know? Nivritim cha, they also do not know what is not to be done. Pravritim cha nivritim cha, janana vidurasuraha. Jana, they don't know. Na janati. Janana vidurasuraha. And then what else? Na saucham, they are not clean. Because of his reason, they are not clean. Now that cleanliness, it can also refer to external, physical uncleanliness, in the sense that they don't know that, for instance, that after you pass stool, you're supposed to take a bath. Srila Prabhupada was very amazed when he came to the West, that he was like, people don't bathe after they pass stool. This is like, he's like, how are they living like this? It's like, it's a very basic principle of cleanliness. And so they don't know these things. They don't know how to stay clean. Their idea of cleanliness is skewed up. That which is coming out of the back is the worst thing that you can produce out of your body. And instead of cleaning it properly with water, you just wipe it with some paper towel. And what's worse is, at least now you have some toilet paper or something like this. But if you take a couple of centuries back, myself and Chandan, we visited. Myself and Chandan visited this antebellum, is that what you call it? Antebellum, so pre-Civil War mansion in Alabama when we were coming, because I was like a little curious about, this, we're in the South, and what is this kind of like, what were these mansions like? So we stopped on the way from LA when we were driving the Sankirtan van. So, over there, and everything is so beautiful. They've got like mirrors from Italy and books from, Germany and this and that. But then their toilet is so bad. What did they used to do? They used to take books, rip papers out, and then wipe themselves in the back. And the person who was explaining it to us was explaining that because of that, they would get rashes in the back because the paper is rough. It's now you get all smooth printed paper. In those days, your paper was, wasn't like this manufactured process. We're speaking early 1800s, and anyways, and it was right in the bedroom. And then, once or twice a day, somebody would clean, which means people who had to pass right after would still have to pass where other people had already passed. And, it's so difficult to imagine, like how it was. So they had no clue, no understanding of cleanliness. But then you can take this in another sense. Okay, now everything is looking very posh and clean. But then there is internal uncleanliness, that there is no cleanliness of thought, there is no purity of thought. It's all selfish ultimately. When we are not Krishna conscious, ultimately we are selfish because we don't understand who we are. So the conception is that of the body. So then, it's a bodily concept of life. A bodily concept of life means selfish concept of life. So, na saucham, na pichacharo. No, they don't know achara. Achara means behavior, or they don't know how to set an example. So, generations of elders don't know how to set an example for their children. And we see that today. They have no conception of how to behave, how to not behave. Parents don't think that they have to set a good example for their children. Smoking right in front of the baby, drinking and doing everything. And, you have your child and then being frivolous, having an extramarital. There's no understanding of basic human behavior, no conception. So, na achara, na satyam teshu. And then, of course, no truth. So that truth, you can take it as regular, normal, sadharana truth. Sadharana satyam means just regular dealings. But it can also be taken as satyam, meaning param satyam, absolute truth. They cannot conceive of the absolute truth. They have no conception of the absolute truth. So, So as a result of this, as a result of living like animals, they fall down to the body like that of a jackal. So this is how we understand. How is it that just by coming to a wrong logical conclusions, you fall down to like species like that of a jackal? But because your logic and reasoning, your philosophy, or your philosophy, as Srila Prabhupada would state, is what defines your very life. It defines your very character. It defines your very behavior. So because of this, they fall down into the animal species of life. So, despite all of this, those who are actually inquisitive to understand the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through logic and argument are welcome. See, this is the beauty. After speaking all about how logic and argument cannot work, one may think, okay, so I should just accept by faith. I should just accept it by faith. No. Srila Prabhupada has already stated that those who are interested in logic and argument, they are not going to accept. They have to accept the absolute truth by basis of logic and argument. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers welcome such people. Yes, very, very welcome. Come. Now, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, all right, now you consider yourself very great logician. Let's put your logician to it. Put your logic to the test. Let's put Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy to your crucial test. And if you are an actual logician, you will come to the right conclusion that there is no personality more merciful than Lord Chaitanya. So then, addressing the point that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentioned previously, that all these different logicians and philosophers, they come up with different humanitarian activities, see, based on their philosophy, right? Different philosophies. You define what is moral, what is immoral, and then based on your morality, you come up with philanthropic activities. Oh, this is good. This is very good. Therefore, you should do this. So, therefore, we should do like this. Therefore, we should do like that. So, therefore, vegans have their set of morality. For instance, vegan activists have their set of moralities, that you have to go and save, animals from being slaughtered and things like that. So they have their set of morality that comes from their philosophy. Now others don't accept that. Others think, no, animals are here for us to eat. That's their philosophy. So they come up with these different arguments, and because of that, and so those people, they think, no, what's really needed is actually we need to feed the poor. That's their philosophy. Now vegans said, no, we don't have time for that. We have to go and save the animals. So they have all these different kinds of philanthropic activities, and there's so many non-profit organized. The amount of non-profit corporations, the amount of like humanitarian activities and societies is like so many today. Like even more than it's ever existed in human society. According to the logic and argument of all these, logicians and mundane scholars, the world should be a better place today. But it's not. The world, many people will accept this, that the world is in a position it's worse than it's ever been before. There's so many problems. And these humanitarian activities have failed to solve the problems of life. So, the logicians should compare the results of those humanitarian activities with the merciful activities of Lord Chaitanya. And if their judgment is impartial, they will understand that no other humanitarian activities can surpass those of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada continues. He explains that, humanitarian activities are engaged on the basis of the body. But we understand that we're not this body. We're eternal, we're spirit soul. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities are performed in connection with the eternal soul. Srila Prabhupada, when he was in MIT, he said, where is the department? Where is the department to study the difference between a dead body and a living body? Dead body and a living person. Between life and death. Where is that technology? Where is that science? That science is not there. People do not know who they are. They do not know what happens after death. They do not know these things. And because they do not have an understanding of even this, all their activities are based on the bodily platform. And therefore, after their body is destroyed, they will have to accept another body. And if one does not understand the science of transmigration, but considers the body to be all in all, his intelligence is not very advanced. So, therefore, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj also, he wants to really start this campaign where he wants to establish that reincarnation is a fact. Why? Because by establishing that reincarnation is a fact, automatically, so many of these philosophies that exist on the basis of this, of the philosophy that basically after death everything is over, all of them will go out of the window. And anything that considers transmigration will have to accept some kind of higher power, higher authority. So it makes society move in a direction that makes people favorable to Krishna consciousness. And it will one thing that it will do is it will uproot atheism out of, at its root. So establishing that reincarnation, just spreading that fact, that reincarnation is a fact, just spreading this will remove so many misconceptions from society and will make people overall in general pious, theistic, and in this way. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, without neglecting the necessities of the bodies, imparted the spiritual advancement to purify the existential condition of humanity. See, this is a very important point, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's process does not neglect the necessities of the body. See, this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness, that we are practicing Krishna consciousness. What is this process of Krishna consciousness? Nacha gao bhakta sange karo sankirtan. That you dance, you sing, you chant the holy name of Krishna in the association of devotees. You take prasadam. These are all activities that are so pleasing. These are activities that we all want to do. Before I came to Krishna consciousness, I always wanted to kind of dance. But I was brought up in this rigid, South Indian Brahmin culture where you just. That's the most amount of emotion you're allowed to express. It's like, you sing a little bit, but even the songs they're not somber. They're like, they can be happy songs and things like that. But you have to be very, I don't know what word to use, but very preserved. That's a good word. You have to be very preserved. You have to be very reserved. You have to be very. Stout, not boring, but you have to curtail your emotions. You have to you can't just jump up and dance and do all the kind of crazy things. You have to, rituals and good behavior and things like that and all that. So, but as a young person, there was always I just want to dance. But there was no opportunity. Dance, the only way you could dance is you get drunk and maybe go to and then you're whatever. Other than that, there's no dancing. At least the men, there's absolutely no dancing, at least in the rigid Hindu culture I came from. And then, you take any other culture, you go to the church, well, now they have all sorts of crazy things. So this is a bad example, But, if you traditionally look at the church and things like that, then you will see that it was largely, especially Catholicism, it's very, it's very grave. And we went to the St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York. It's huge. And the thing is, it's meant to be awe-inspiring, but at the same time, it inspires fear. And because they're supposed to inspire some fear of God, but because of that, it's also cold. We went in the middle of summer, but it was cold. It was like this feeling, and it's the cold that you feel kind of in your bones. It's like woo, and then the organ is playing in the back, and woo, and it's like wow, it's like so. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's process is it's very nice. See, those things have their place, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's process surpasses all of these processes by giving us a very joyful practice that we can immediately connect ourselves to. And what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's process, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives is he gives love. He gives love of Krishna. Now that love of Krishna, how does he give love of Krishna? You see, when you come to the association of devotees, Devotees welcome you. They treat you very nicely. They're very sweet. They're loving, And but what is that love? Like, why do they like you? Like, why? And it's not that, if you give a donation, they like you, and otherwise they don't like you. People come to the Sunday program, whether they give a donation or not, they get treated the same way. They get given the same plate of prasadam. It's not that, oh, you give prasadam, hey, give him paneer, give him an extra sweet, or this, that. No, it's not like that. We give. And how do devotees give that? How are the acharyas giving that? We're not connected in the bodily platform. You're not connected in a business relationship. So if you don't have a business relationship, then you're not connected on the relationship of the body either. You're not relatives, or you're not friends. You're not of the same race or caste or language or anything like that. Why are we welcomed? Why are we shown that love? See, that is love. Why are we shown that love? That love is an aspect of Krishna consciousness. And anything that is an aspect of Krishna consciousness is coming from Krishna. It is coming from Krishna. It is part of the culture of Krishna Prema. You see, when we are given that prasadam, when devotees are, oh, take more, take more. But that is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates dealt with each other. And they were immersed in Krishna Prema. That is how Yashoda Devi feeds Krishna, and all the other cowherd boys. So that culture, that without any sort of bodily conception of life, we are given that love, we are given that connection. This is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is offering that love of Krishna freely. This is one of the ways. The holy name is distributed. The holy name. You see, okay, why is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy so great? In previous to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if you had to hear the holy name of Krishna, you more or less needed to have some kind of karmic qualification. You had to be kind of somehow be born around, most likely you had to be born in India, and then you would come around the name of Krishna, but then even then, nobody's telling you that you have to chant it every day, or you have to take this up, or anything like that. And even if they did say, the rigidity of the whole society at that point of time was that the holy name was not emphasized. It was not emphasized. So many other kinds of practices and things like that were emphasized. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on the other hand, this song that we just sang, if you read, it says that, oh brother, so verse number 3, it says, give up all fear and shyness and take shelter of merciful Lord Gauranga. Lord Gauranga rescues those who are most wicked at heart, and therefore he is known as Patita Pavana, the savior of the fallen. So who are the most wicked? Who are the most fallen? Those who have no opportunity or no connection with Vedic culture. They are cast to these, far lands where, they can't even hear of Krishna. They cannot hear of anything. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, they go and seek out these kinds of places. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, you see, one thing I was just thinking today, different incarnations of Krishna come with their different associates. And they generally enact those pastimes among those associates. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he left all his associates in Puri. All his associates. And he just had one servant with him. He took one servant and he traveled all over South India to preach Krishna consciousness. He spent so many years. Why did he do that? He didn't do that to associate with to enact pastimes with his associates. He came simply to save the fallen conditioned souls. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, unlike the previous incarnations where the Supreme Lord, he is generally along with his associates. And he is not necessarily, unlike Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are not going around trying to specifically save the conditioned souls and teach them how to worship them, how to worship him. They are going around enacting those pastimes, and some souls get attracted in the course of the pastimes, and that is called, what is that called? Kripa Siddhi. It's called mercy. So even in Lord Krishna's pastimes, you will see how different people attained Krishna's mercy, even though they were formerly not attracted to him. For instance, Kubja. Kubja is a very good example. Another example? Right, the fruit vendor. The fruit vendor who comes in Vrindavan. She becomes very attracted. She gives some fruits to Krishna. Then what else? Then Dobiwala was, he was a little envious. But this Putana, she was given the greatest destination, ultimately. So in this way, Krishna also. And you will find actually that Krishna gave more than, say, Lord Varaha, who just came, finished off Hiranyaksha, and that was it. And then he roared, all the demigods saw him, they offered some praise, and that was it, the pastime was over. So Lord Krishna, but Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he leaves his associates, he comes, his incarnation, he spends so much time just giving that mercy to the conditioned souls, to give them love of God. He goes around them, he chases after them. This is what, and not only does he chase, he sends his followers also. His followers, his associates, they want to be with him. He says, no, you go. You go. What is that? Shuno, Nityananda, Shuno Haridas. What does it go after that? Shuno, Nityananda, Shuno Haridas. And then, well, that's after that. Anyways, he says, oh Nityananda, oh Haridas, please hear. Then he says, go to Bengal and go to every single house. Ghare gaya. Go to every single house and make them chant, Bhajo Krishna, Bolo Krishna, Karo Krishna Shikha. I think that's where this verse comes that I just chanted actually. What is that? Anyways, now I'm forgetting everything. So in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not only he does it, his associates also do that. He sends his associates to do it. So, going back further to talking about this, without neglecting the necessities of the body, apart from that, we get the association of devotees. We get to exchange loving exchanges with devotees. I mean, think about it. Would we all be here chanting Hare Krishna if it weren't for the association devotees, if it weren't for that loving affection that we get, if it weren't for this atmosphere of selfless love that the devotees show towards each other, the affection that they show to each other, will we be here? Even if we understood Bhagavad Gita, even if we understood everything, would we surrender our lives to Krishna? No. We wouldn't do it. We just wouldn't do it. But devotees, they come up with they come up with different schemes. They come up with different ideas. Okay, how can we, come and bring people into the association? And then, other than that also, we get to sing, we get to chant, we get to dance. All the songs that we sing, they're so nice to hear. Every time you sing Guru Puja, it's like, this is the best. This is the best kirtan. It's just so amazing. Mangal Arati is just so amazing. Like Samsara, this prayer is just like, it's so amazing. Like that tune, that song, that feeling, it's like, it's just, sometimes, out of having to conduct worldly duties, and really myself, I have to go and spend a few days with my family. So when I come back, it's like, then Mangal Arati, it's like, Mangal Arati is so amazing. Just see how it is so nice to chant and dance. Without all these samskaras. And what is all of this? This is all aspects of Krishna Prema. See, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, previously you had to understand all of these things and then do it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees, they just push you into it. They say, here, get up in the morning, push you into the shower, you take a bath, you come out, here's the book, this is the song we're singing, read it here, and then, okay, here's prasadam, here's what you do. offer obeisances here, do this, do that. It's amazing. You would have to read, you would have to understand, in fact, the spiritual master won't even come to you. You have to approach the spiritual master. The spiritual master is in it, and you'll read all these. You look at Ramanujacharya's, his example. Ramanujacharya, he came in Kali Yuga. How did he obtain his spiritual master? How many times did he go and see him? 17 times he goes to his spiritual master. 17 times. Goshti Puna, initiate me, initiate. No. Even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had to go. But, the point is, but Srila Prabhupada, he's coming to us. He's coming to us. Srila Prabhupada is coming to us in the form of these books. He's coming to us in the form of devotees, coming to us in the form of Harinam. This is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu puts for. And what is the benefit of? And so you have these. So bodily, and then bodily need. What bodily need? Look at the place Krishna has given us. It's a luxurious place. It's a luxurious place. We have so much benefit. And in the process of Krishna consciousness, you also get to go, travel, see different, places. You get to go to India, you get to see the holy dhams. You get to associate with different devotees. It's such an amazing process. Such an amazing process. And it's all connected to Krishna consciousness. And by doing all of this, all your material desires go away. And you become a pure devotee. This is amazing. Like, you can't find a better deal anywhere else. You don't have to, and all it requires is just a little faith. Little faith. And if after all this you cannot place a little faith, where is the hope? Where is the hope? You can't place faith after this much. Come on. Like, where will you find? Therefore, where will you find? So what is that song? There is Narottam Das Thakur sings. No. There is no other. There is no one as merciful as Lord. No. I mean, that's there. Yeah. Okay. In there, it's there in this. Yeah. So that's fine. So, but I was thinking of the song. Even I think Shri Krishna. No. That you cannot find these two most merciful lordships. Parama Karuna Pahundui Janan Baja Baja Bai Chaitanya Nitai Durdida Vishwasa Kori. But what is that line I'm looking for? Deko Ore Bai Tribhuwane Nai Emono Doyala Data. That listen. Oh brothers, listen. Deko Ore Tribhuwane Nai. In these three worlds, you will not find someone as merciful as Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. In these three worlds you will not find. Indra will not do favors like this to you. Brahma will not do favors like this to you. You can worship how many ever demigods you want. They will not do all these favors to you. Give up all your hogwash. Surrender unto the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. He will not just take care. That's the point here. See, this is the thing. We're all concerned about our bodily necessities. Oh, this, oh, that. How am I going to live my life like this? What am I going to do about this? But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, bodily necessities is something that demigods take care of. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu won't even do that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going around like a madman, trying to give everybody Krishna. He's giving freely. What he will not give about your body? Easily this all will be taken care. So, imparted spiritual advancement to purify the existential condition of humanity. Therefore, if a logician makes his judgment impartially, he will surely find that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most Maha Vadanyavatara. Vadanyavatara. The most magnanimous incarnation. He is even more magnanimous than Lord Krishna himself. So this is the point. Krishna gave all the instructions. He attracted by his pastimes. But when I used to read some of these, when I used to read these books, I used to read Krishna's pastimes. This was even before I came to Krishna consciousness. I would read Mahabharata or sometimes, and things like that. Or I would think, it's like, they didn't do anything and they got all the mercy. It's like, why don't I get anything? Like, Why am I like, and I would feel so like, it's like, so we're just stuck here, like, and nobody had any clue, but, it was so, sad. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his pastimes are not wound up like that of Lord Krishna or Lord Ramachandra or other incarnations. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes continues till this day. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, therefore, actually, in this verse, actually it's the next, it's the following verses. It's a little difficult to complete this we're almost done. Okay, so then I'm going to go to the next verse. So Lord Krishna demanded that one surrender unto him, but he did not distribute love of Godhead as magnanimously as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Rupa Goswami offers his prayers. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvishaya Namaha. Lord Krishna simply gave Bhagavad Gita, by which one can understand Lord Krishna as he is. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is also Krishna himself, gave people love of Krishna without discrimination. Now we're going to go to this is the next verse, the famous verse. Bahu janma kariye di shravan kirtan tabutana pai Krishna pade premadan. So even if you chanted the holy name of Krishna, but if you are chanting with the 10 offenses, you will not obtain love of God, even after many, many births. So I'm going to skip. So then this is a very nice verse from the Bhagavatam, Canto 5. Jnanata sulabha muktir bhuktir yajnadi punyataha seyam sadhana sahasrair hari bhakti sudurlabha. By cultivating philosophical knowledge, one can understand his spiritual position and thus be liberated. And by performing sacrifices and pious activities, one can achieve sense gratification in a higher planetary system. But devotional service of the Lord is so rare that even by executing hundreds of thousands of such sacrifices, one cannot obtain it. So it's not easy to obtain this Krishna Prema. It is not so easy. But now it is being freely distributed. In Krishna, so text 18, Krishna jadi chute bhakte bhukti mukti diya kabu prema bhakti na dene rakhene lukhaya. If a devotee wants liberation or material sense gratification from Lord Krishna, from the Lord, Krishna immediately delivers it. But pure devotional service he keeps hidden. So Krishna doesn't give that so easily. Krishna, why doesn't he give it? In this lecture, Aparajitaha, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj in his lecture Aparajitaha on Vishnu Sahasranama, he explains that one of the commentators, I think Satya Sanda Yatiraj, I think that's the commentator, he comments that one of the meanings of Aparajitaha means that Krishna, he is not conquered by anyone who does not devote himself completely to him. He's not conquered. He doesn't allow himself to be conquered by anyone unless they're completely devoted to him. Why? Why doesn't Krishna allow that? Because if Krishna allows, because if anybody wants to conquer Krishna, that means Krishna has to give himself. That Krishna will not give himself to anybody who doesn't want to love him, who doesn't desire to love him. Krishna will not give. Why will he give? Why will I give myself completely? Even we won't do it. Why will Krishna do it? So therefore, but then here, this is the next. And of course, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami substantiates that. This is again from Bhagavatam. Rajan Patir Gurur Alam Bhavat. What's the meter here? Rajan Patir Gurul Alam Bhavatam Yadunam Daivam Priya Kulapati Kvacha Kinkaro Vaha Astwevamanga Bhagavan Bhajata Mukundo Muktim Dadati Karhichit Smana Bhakti Yogam. It's a very famous verse. Now, the great sage Narada said, "My dear Maharaj Yudhishthir, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is always ready to help you. He is your master, guru, God, very dear friend, and head of your family. Yet sometimes he agrees to act as your servant or order carrier. you are greatly fortunate because this relationship is possible only by bhakti yoga. The Lord can give liberation mukti very easily, but he does not very easily give one bhakti yoga because by that process he is bound to the devotee. So people are trying to become God. But Prabhupada said, why do you want to become God? You can control God. This is the process of Krishna consciousness. That by Krishna consciousness you become greater. You become greater. How is that greater? Because bhakti is such. One of the characteristics of bhakti is that it is Krishna akarshani. Krishna akarshani sata. Chasa. Krishna akarshani chasa. That's how that verse comes. That bhakti, one of the characteristics of bhakti is that it attracts Krishna himself. Even Krishna is attracted by bhakti, by devotional service. Therefore, Krishna doesn't give that very easily. But, Hena prema Shri Chaitanya dila yatha jata thata Jagai Madhai paryanta anyera kakatha. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has freely given this love of Krishna everywhere and anywhere, even to the most fallen as Jagai and Madhai. What then to speak of those who are already pious and elevated? So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, he gave this freely. He gave it to people who are as low and fallen as Jagai and Madhai. Who are Jagai and Madhai? Rapists, drunkards, murderers, what else? Pretty much. They had the women hunters, meat eaters, gamblers. They were doing everything that is possible that you could do wrong. They were doing. It is said that Jagai and Madhai were performing so many sinful activities that Chitragupta, who's Yamaraj's secretary, he's Yamaraj's scribe or secretary. You can call clerk, whatever you want to call him. He's like, so basically, there's a person called Chitragupta in Yamaloka, and what he does is, for everybody there's a book, and he writes everything, whatever sinful activities, pious activities, he lists everything. And Jagai and Madhai were so sinful. Vrindavan Das Thakur describes Jagai and Madhai were so sinful that Chitragupta couldn't keep track of it. It was like too much. He couldn't keep up with the amount of sinful desires they were committing, that he couldn't keep up. It's kind of hilarious. It's kind of funny, Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavat is like that. It's very funny. It's a very nectarian book. So Jagai and Madhai were like this. And Lord Nityananda thought, listen, if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy can reach Jagai and Madhai, then that will establish Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's glory. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's glory can be established in this way. So Nityananda Prabhu goes. See, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't go. Therefore, if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful that he is going around like a madman, giving people prema, his servants, the Guru, like Lord Nityananda, is so much mad, so much crazy, that they go and seek out the worst of the worst, and then they go and pick them up. This is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, that Lord Chaitanya's associates, they're even more merciful than Lord Chaitanya. That's why you see just Srila Prabhupada, how he's created this process of Krishna consciousness. It's so relevant to us. It is so relevant to us. It's just amazing. I mean, I've never eaten all these different preparations before I came to Krishna consciousness. I just never knew these things. Even as an Indian who's gone like so many places with my parents, we love to tour, we would go and eat and all sorts of still, when I first came, I remember this was so distinct. We first came and had at the ISKCON temple, Chennai, I first had just simple rice, dal and sabji. I was like, this is amazing. Wow, this is so amazing. Like, what is this? And I've had dal. Indian, you eat dal. It's like, dal is something you get everywhere. I was like, what is this? And then, of course, the sweets, what to speak of the sweets. Rasgulla, and I remember in my, I always like to say this because, I even today, what to do. You dream, at least I dream of, that Rasgulla in Mayapur. you have to go and have it. Like, if you don't have it, that you don't have that Rasgulla in Mayapur, like, you're really missing a lot on life. You know, it's like, because but the thing is, I've had rasgullas in the past, but when these rasgullas are made by devotees and are offered to Krishna, they have a completely different taste. It's just, you cannot compare it. You just cannot compare it. It doesn't taste the same. It doesn't feel, when you're coming into Krishna consciousness, you kind of go in and out. And you really see the difference. You see the stark difference between prasadam and something else. You would see it. So, especially as an Indian, it takes a time. It takes we're kind of slow in many ways to take up to Krishna because there's so many hang-ups. So you have to go. So you're still eating to temple prasadam, and then you're going in the restaurant and eating this and eating that, and then you're chanting a few rounds and going here and going there, and then and you see such a difference. It's such a difference. Giriraj Maharaj recollects that the Juhu temple, in the early days of the movement, the Hare Krishna movement in India, people were very suspicious, of Srila Prabhupada and Prabhupada's activities. Westerners were, they were like, what is this? They're CIA agents, they're like undercover agents, and all sorts of crazy. Newspapers would publish reports, publishing report, that the Shikar of the Juhu temple, the Shikar is the Gopuram, the spire that goes on top of the temple. What does it have? It has rocket launchers, it seems.
Oh my God, that's so...
I'm not even kidding. It has rocket launchers. How could you make such a wild and crazy accusation that it has rocket launchers and is meant to destroy the whole Bombay city or something like this? Some crazy idea. So people, and you know what they said? You know why people keep going and eating that? They're adding some drug, something they're adding to that food. Why the hell do you, when you go and eat that, you get hooked to it? It's the same thing. We know what they're cooking, that khichdi or that halava. We've had halava is from India, khichdi is from India. We know all this stuff. Why is it so addictive? Because they're putting some drug or something. No, the drug is Krishna Prema. See, this is the point. When we think, oh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu freely distributed love of God. You see, you don't become attracted to Krishna unless you associate with him. But you cannot associate with Krishna unless you're surrendered. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gives us Krishna. He gives us, and then you get hooked. Arey, what is this? What is this thing? What is this? What is this? What? I'm hooked. I think I just like talking to devotees. That was the other thing. I just like talking to devotees because it's just nice to talk to devotees. And there's so many things. And Kirtan, you never tire of hearing Srila Prabhupada's chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. It's even though it's just a recording, and all of us except one of us in this room haven't been fortunate to be around when Srila Prabhupada was here on the planet. But still, that the holy name of that Srila Prabhupada chants is so potent. It makes you feel in a different way. You just can't describe it. What does that mean? That's otherworldly. You cannot it's not of this world. It's not of this world. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives these impressions, and in this way he gives us. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives us these things. Therefore, he is able to save people who are even like Jagai and Madhai, worse than Jagai and Madhai, if there can be anybody like that. No? So then, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Swatantra Ishwara Prema Nigudha Bandhara Bilaila Jare Tare Nakaila Vichara. Oops. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, is fully independent. Therefore, although it is the most confidently stored benediction, he can distribute love of Godhead to anyone and everyone without consideration. Actually, later, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does this because actually he is in the mood of Srimati Radharani. That Krishna himself, he wouldn't do it. But when he accepts the mood of Radharani, he cannot control himself. And Radharani, she is very merciful. She is extremely merciful. And therefore, by the mercy of Radharani, one attains Krishna. Without mercy of Radharani, one cannot attain Krishna. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So, and then And then he said over here, Adhyapiha Dekha Chaitanya Nama Jailai Krishna Prema Pulakashru Vihvala Se Hoy. Whether one is offensive or inoffensive, anyone who even now chants Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda is immediately overwhelmed with ecstasy and tears fill his eyes. This is amazing. And I was like, oh, it says even the first word here is Adhyapiha. Adhyapiha. Even today, even now, even at this moment. This is what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying. Which means what? It's about us, right? We're talking. Well, now means we're here. So, if one chants Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda is immediately overwhelmed with ecstasy and tears fill his eyes. Prabhupada says, here Prabhupada gives a very nice purport. He says, the Prakrita Sahajiyas who chant Nitai Gaur Radhesham have very little knowledge of Bhagavata conclusion and they hardly follow Vaishnava rules and regulations, and yet because they chant Bhaja Nitai Gaur, their chanting immediately evokes tears and other signs of ecstasy. Amazing, isn't it? Now, the Prabhupada says, though, although they do not know the principles of Vaishnava philosophy and are not very much advanced in education, by these symptoms they attract many men to become their followers. Their ecstatic tears will of course help them in the long run, for as soon as they come in contact with the pure devotee, their lives will become successful. So the point is, but what about us? We've all had those times and those moments. We are here because we had a taste. We got some of that taste. And it's not possible that we're all here doing this. We had so many desires. We had so many things we wanted to do in life. We had so many things we wanted to do in life. Why the hell are we here? And why are we with people who we're like, all of us in this room are so different to each other that why would we have associated with each other? Like, what would we have to do with each other? If I were to go by my mundane misconceptions that I carried, I would be hating so many people that I'm now associating with. That's my condition, a very fallen state. But now here we are, hugging each other, and I'm thinking, I can't live without these people who I would have hated what's wrong? It's like, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's great mercy. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. This is all happening because we got a taste. So, whenever we sometimes become bewildered, whenever we become sometimes think, use your logic and apply, just like that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying here. Think of that moment when you had that plate of prasadam that blew your mind. Can you refute that? Can you say, is there any explanation you can give other than the fact that was just unparalleled? Or that kirtan, or that association, or that experience of seeing the deities of the Lord. I remember the first time I had darshan, I will never forget this. The first time I had darshan in Mayapur, the curtains are opening, and without even my knowledge, I felt the hair stand on my head. I was like, my eyes were filling with tears. I was like, I'm in the spiritual, what is this? I'm seeing Krishna. It was so overwhelming. It is it's this experience. It's like a tsunami hits you, and you're just swept. You're swept up with your feet. It's like you're just swept up, and you're just carried away. Let's remember those moments. Let's remember those times. Those times, and here's the good news. If we follow Krishna consciousness, we just chant our rounds properly. It's hard. It's hard. We get dragged. We think of so many things. But, even after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes care of all our needs, somehow when we are chanting japa, we only think about those things. I want to do this, I want to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I have to, this has to be done, that has to be done, what about this, what about that? Although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is taking care of everything, we still, after all of this, we don't want to give attention to the holy name. And I'm speaking for myself. This is really for myself. Don't have any taste for chanting the holy name of Krishna. But let us chant that holy name of Krishna. Let us give the time of attention. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took care of everything else. And if you didn't think of something, And you're like, well, I just want to chant the holy names. I want to focus and chant. I don't want to think about all these problems in life. And if I don't have enough time because of this, that I may forget something or something, or I may, then let Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu deal with that problem. And he will. Because who is better than him than to deal with all the problems in life? Nobody. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. So in the same way, when we're engaged in devotional service, when we're performing service, always often our mind, gets clogged up with all these, concerns and material desires and problems and depression and trauma and anxiety and all these kind of things. Raise your arms up in kirtan and dance. My Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj will often say that. He says that himself sometimes. Sometimes, after it's like very difficult, like heavy meeting with maybe some disciple who's not listening and really being really being a big rascal and, disturbing so many other people and this and that. And what's the solution? After you deal with all of this, you go to kirtan and you just dance like anything. You just dance like anything. Because ultimately, see, we are all executing, we're just servants. Our problem solving, our whatever we're doing, cooking, cleaning, deity worship, book distribution, managing, all this is we're just assisting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can do all this by himself. What Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can do all this by himself? Prabhupada said, if Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, he could have done it easily himself. But he didn't so because he left some work for us to give us some mercy so that we have something to do. Otherwise, what will we do? We don't have anything to do. If we just have to chant Hare Krishna, we won't do that. So we have so many things to do. But, we should give attention to chanting Hare Krishna. So, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is very extraordinary. And we should give ourselves to the chanting of Hare Krishna, and all those moments of ecstasy that we experienced, they can and will become constant. They will become a constant feature of our lives. This is the process of Krishna consciousness, believe it or not. It's like, how can it be that one moment of ecstasy? I also, how can it be that one feeling? It's too much. How can it be consistent? No, you can't handle it. You cannot handle it. And therefore, it tears. But then that anguish and separation of Krishna is exhibited by the pure devotee by spreading that Krishna consciousness to others, by giving it to others. Therefore, you will find, Srila Prabhupada, he was on that platform. So we have a lot of hope. With Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is so much good news. But the best news is it is Kevala Ananda Kanda. It is simply blissful. Simply blissful. You will not find, you can apply your logic, you will not find such a blissful process anywhere. You will not find. It is not possible. So we are very fortunate. And by this we can understand we are actually very dear to Lord Chaitanya. Believe it or not. And that's I was trying to understand, how do you understand this? I mean, I can only speculate that here it said, Narottam Dasa Kohe, Gaura Sama Keho Nohe, that there is nobody equal to Lord Gauranga. Why? Na bhajite dhei prema dan. Even if one does not worship Lord Chaitanya, he still gives him love of God. No, this is what I understand. We were not. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I had no clue about him. But he gave us. Actually, you think about it. By honoring Krishna Prasadam, you are actually worshipping Krishna. You may not know. You're just thinking you're eating. But that's what Ananta Vasudev Prabhu is telling this Pandit. Are you enjoying Prasadam? Is Prasadam enjoying you? Actually, the Prasadam is seeking out people. Let me enter into this person's mouth. Let me enter into that person's mouth. Let me enter here. Let me enter there. That is Prasadam. Prasadam is transcendental. It's Krishna himself, Anna Brahma. It's not some mundane thing that's just sitting over there. So same, the holy name is entering this year, that year, this tree, this insect, that. What is that? there's a verse, there's again another Bengali song that that even plants and animals and Pashu Pakhi Jure Pashana Vidare Shuni Janra Gunagan. Even Pashu Pakhi, even the birds and animals, they're getting delivered. They're getting liberated. Lord Chaitanya went and did a big harinam with all the animals in the forest of Jharkhand. I had the good fortune of visiting that place. There are footprints on the bank of that river. And it's pretty amazing. You'll actually see footprints of deer, elephants, tigers, and the actual footprints. And it's embedded in the granite. It's not something that was carved. And it's everywhere. Means they were really partying like anything. They were having such a big party. It's all over the place. It's like they're jumping everywhere. It's not like you find 2 feet together, right? So they must have been jumping all around me because, it's not like you find one elephant's footprint here and then a little away you find, because you're jumping with your legs, right? I don't know how it looks like they were jumping all over the place because it's pretty amazing, And it's a nice place. You can bathe there also. It's a beautiful stream, super clear, fresh water, which is like amazing spring water. It's really nice. So even now that it's just a forest, Krishna's mercy, it's still a forest, Over there, Jharkhand is not such a urbanized state in India. So anyways, we can keep talking, but, we have to understand we're actually the recipients of mercy. We're actually, we're very, very, very fortunate. So I'll stop here. If there are any questions or comments, please feel free to ask. We have a mic. Anything? It's here. Anybody like to say anything? Something? No? Yes, Damodar Prabhu.
You were mentioning about that initial taste. I think everyone can get it, can they?
Well, it's for the live.
Oh, okay. Right. You were mentioning about the initial taste that we had.
It's not on. It's not on. Is it connected there? Is it turned on there? Yeah. Okay.
It's working?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. You were mentioning at one point about that initial taste, that everyone remembers that first moment of maybe taking prasadam or something like that. So my suggestion is that everyone should actually meditate on those things. Like you were mentioning how when you first saw Radha Madhava, for me it was a completely different experience.
Yeah.
I went to New York. My brother was living in the temple, and he brought me into the temple on 55th Street in New York. And there were a bunch of devotees running around with Vikeshwar Pandit in the middle. Vikeshwar Pandit is a really husky black guy. And then next to him was Bhakti Vinod and Bhumipati, who was also they looked like Kshatriya black people. And all these white devotees are running around them in a circle. I'm looking at this. And then there's Radha Govinda. Govinda is black marble. So he says, and I'm like, what are they doing? I said, what are they doing? And he goes, don't worry about it. He says, you see that? That's God, and that's his girlfriend. I go, let's see, New York City, black guy with a white girlfriend. Okay, I go for that. Yeah. And it was like, it just seemed so strange and odd, but I actually had the same sort of an experience where all my hairs rose up a little bit. I was just like, I could feel the heat in my face. I was like it was just, and then all of a sudden one devotee grabbed me and pulled me into the middle there with my long hippie hair. And it was just so ecstatic, And I remember years later thinking, why can't I feel like that again? And it's like that pastime of the devotee, and Krishna comes before him, and he says, "You will not see me anymore in this lifetime." Mm-hmm. So we have to hanker like Lord Chaitanya in the mood of Radharani. Where are you, Krishna? Where are you? And you have to have that intensity. And you have to have that sense of direction and that sense of purpose. Because usually after a while, familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah.
So we have to be
able forgetfulness also. We forget about it also.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just like right now, we sing the Samsara Dava prayers every morning. if I went around the room and I said, what does Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavad Prasada, what does this verse mean? How many devotees won't know?
Mm.
It's like we have to actually go deeper, not just do the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
It's like Srila Prabhupada says, a parrot squawking.
Yeah.
It has no purpose.
Right.
So to chant the Maha Mantra, to chant the morning prayers, to go through all these things, chant Gayatri even, all these things, if you don't do it with a sense of purpose, with a sense of focus, then in one sense, it's no better than a parrot squawking.
Right.
So that taste could actually be there a lot quicker than we think.
Yeah.
Like you were mentioning, you chant one time, you can become a pure devotee, and we're thinking, why isn't it happening? It's like, come on, yeah. But it can happen very easily according to how we reciprocate. But Krishna, Chaitanya Guru in the heart, he sees what we're doing. He knows who we are. And he's right there the whole time saying, come on, stop being foolish.
Yeah.
Come on. So they're actually just waiting for us to actually, not have one foot in the door and one foot outside. They want us to jump in. The perfect example is Draupadi. When she was being disrobed in the arena, then one hand up, and she was pure devotee, but still she was holding on to a sari with one hand, and then she realized, okay, hey Govind, and both arms went up. So Krishna will reciprocate until we reciprocate. So.
Josh, thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Just a reflection. You're talking about Guru Maharaj is trying to really propagate the fact that the fact of reincarnation.
Right.
Just a reflection. I had a philosophy class a few semesters ago, and there was one class where we talked about Eastern philosophy. Now, Eastern philosophy is much older than Western philosophy, and the body of knowledge is so much bigger. Yet, out of I don't know how many, maybe like 28 classes or something, only one of them covered the entirety of Eastern philosophy. And for that class, everybody showed up. Most people skip. At least half the class is skipping most classes. But for this one class, everybody showed up. Everybody's got some interest in Eastern philosophy.
Right.
And reincarnation is one of the pillars of Eastern
central.
philosophy.
There's no Eastern philosophy, as far as my knowledge goes, without reincarnation. I'm not aware of any.
And in that philosophy class, this, Eastern philosophy, it was something called the problem of evil. If God is good, why did he create evil in this world? Karma and reincarnation is the only theological explanation that solves the problem of evil.
Right. Right.
And so this was a big topic of the class, the problem of evil. So anyways, that's another reflection here.
Okay, yes. Turn on.
Hare Krishna. Okay. There's this verse, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, text number 59, and that, we were just talking about how so many expert logicians, they like to speculate and they like to do all these things, but if they use their intelligence properly, they'll understand. Prabhupada makes a statement just in the middle of his long purport, which really blew my mind. I was reading it yesterday. Prabhupada says this: a devotee is as thoughtful as a non-devotee is speculative. That devotees are known as munis, Prabhupada says, The non-devotee's speculation is impure, but a devotee's thoughts are pure. So when we actually use our logic and reasoning in understanding the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, then our thoughts are actually pure.
Yeah.
But as a non-devotee, it's speculative. So it's such an amazing point.
Great, yeah, wow. If I'm kind of curious, and it's kind of like decided to turn it into a different kind of session, but I'm kind of curious to hear, just to see how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has influenced each of our lives. If whoever is volunteering can tell us what, if you could tell that just one moment that really blew your mind in Krishna consciousness, it would be nice to know. That is kind of like a sweet thing.
Hare Krishna.
Oh yeah, you mentioned about the prasadam.
Prashadam. Okay.
So the first time I came to Ram's house, I would I didn't even like I don't know what it was. I just saw Maha outside and I was like, I don't think I should go outside. Then Mahosha embraced me with a big hug and I was like, wow, people really don't just do that. They don't just hug strangers. Anyways, long story short, the chanting was okay, the philosophy was okay for me. But when I ate the halava and sweet rice, I was like, this is what like food is supposed to
It
taste
just
like.
explodes, right?
And actually, the first time I ate prasadam, I turned to be a vegetarian. Like
Wow.
the very first time, literally, yeah, the very first time I took prasadam, I didn't eat meat again because I was like, this is literally what food is supposed to taste like.
Wow, it's amazing.
I was always looking for an excuse to not eat meat because in my back of my mind, I'm like something's wrong with like eating flesh. But then the vegetarian options and incarnate culture is really bad. But
Yeah.
when you eat prasadam, like you said, it's not just vegetarian food. Like it's love mixed within it. So, and also I was thinking just how whatever kind of nectar you get from that coming to Christian consciousness, you want to give to others. That's why I'm very like enthusiastic about prasadam distribution because for
Right.
me, that's
That changed you.
that's what changed me. So
Yeah.
I know there's other people who can have the similar experience. For
Just.
example, like Rahosa, I know he got a book when he first came in.
Not really.
I heard you got an on chanting. No, Palika.
No,
he got an
he'll tell about himself.
Yeah. Anyways, point I'm making is that's why, like like that initial, like you said, taste you get in the beginning. You want to share that with others because it just blows your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ty.
That's Lord Chaitanya's mercy.
Okay, let's keep it a little quick. But I'm just curious because it's really really nice to know how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has influenced each of our lives. There are probably many moments, but say that one that really you want to say.
How many people came because of Prashad?
That's true. You don't have to say it if you don't want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was just something like maybe like after Prabhupada Marathon in Miami. I remember I was like walking during Japa period like with the other devotees like Trace, Avi, Chandan. And we were just staring and walking around like looking at anything and it was just so blissful and I thought like, wow, I don't know if it just came from reading teachings of Lord Chaitanya or like just being around the devotees, but it was so blissful. Like me and Trace were just staring at this big tree and we was like, oh my God, like, that's
I
such
feel
a
so
good
blissed
tree.
out right
Yeah,
now.
I was like,
I feel high.
oh my God, I was like,
I feel high. I'm staring at this tree and I feel all blissed out.
Yeah, that was really blissful, but
Okay.
that's about it. That was the mercy.
I think anybody else volunteers? I'm not going to force anybody. Is there anybody who wants to say something? You can say. Yes, Matsya.
Matsya. His name is Matsya. That's Abhimanyu.
Hare Krishna. So I remember my first Janmashtami when I went to Prabhupada village, and Apurva Prabhu had me in the kitchen for like 14 hours that day, and like nobody told me that we were fasting that day. So the day before, I like hardly ate anything at all, and then that day I hardly ate I didn't eat anything at all until like 1 a.m. And like needless to say, I was like completely like delirious almost by the end of it all. I was like really tired and like ecstatic, like the kirtan and everything. And then I remember afterwards, it was probably like 2 in the morning or something, and everybody was going to sleep. And I went outside because I was sleeping in my van. And I remember looking up in the sky, and it's Krishna Janmashtami, so like the moon is like a half moon, But for some reason, I remember seeing this like beautiful full moon that night. Like I know it couldn't have possibly been a full moon. I know it couldn't have possibly been a full moon. Like looking back at it, but I remember that night so like vividly, like seeing this beautiful golden full moon that night, and like thinking like, wow, like okay, so like most people know that I'm coming from like a background of like drug use, right? And I remember like that night feeling like I've never been so high. And thinking how Prabhupada would describe Lord Chaitanya as being this golden moon, and thinking like, wow, like this is Lord Chaitanya, like this is what I'm like feeling, and like Damodar Prabhu was saying, like whenever I like remember like experiences like this, it like enlivens me. And,
For
like,
sure, at least for me, yeah, definitely, yeah. Anybody else has anything to say?
A year ago, I guess to this day is my first time I visited. So it was.
When did you visit first?
For Gaura Purnima.
Oh, really? It's an anniversary.
But actually, Actually, I guess Lord Chaitanya was testing my sincerity because on the way here, I was supposed to make it in time for the festival, but one of my tires blew, and like I went swinging on the highway, you know, left, right, like barely made it. Ended up pulling over. Most all the tow companies were closed, but there was like one shop that was kind of open. I got a hold of him, and I wasn't able to like get a tow to him, so for some reason he like decided to come to me. That's like unheard of. Like he's like got his shop, but he like drove like 10 miles. He come fixed me up. He said, you know, my dad would have done the same thing. He used to run this shop. He, you know, he suited me up. He sent me back, and then like I finally got here that night. But you know, one of my standout, I guess, moments that I remember is during the Prabhupada marathon at the airport. I was trying to get these two people to take the books, and they were kind of into it, but they didn't want to give a donation or anything. And then just out of the blue, this like a homeless guy comes up and slaps me, like gives me a handshake, and he's like, you know, what you're doing is amazing. I like opened my hand, he like gave me $30, and I was like, so he took the book. So I was just like seeing, I was like, wow, like. Everybody respects it from what I've seen, you know. Everybody can feel the power of what's going on, and then that this mercy is just flowing. Like it may have been as like 30 of his $60, but he gave it, so it's like it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I remember, you know, some things that even happened here is like some things that I can't. These are again things that I can't explain. Because the logic and argument, you apply it to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, you find it strikingly wonderful. Remember this guy, some big dude out there who decided to mow our lawn.
Yeah, what? Who was that?
And he mowed
Who was he?
some guy came random, and at that time we didn't have any of this, like, you know, we had the push lawn mower, and it would take forever to do that thing. You know, so some guy just came and they were mowing the lawn. I was like, I saw the guy, I was like, okay, I guess Mitravan must have called somebody. Mitravan looks at the guy, he says, Visnu must have called him. You know?
No, he came inside.
And then
It was like, do you have a bathroom?
take the mic. Give the mic.
He came inside and he was like, do you guys have a bathroom here? I was like, yeah, there's a bathroom right there. Just use the bathroom. And then I asked you, like, did you hire that guy? I didn't hire that guy. Who was that? I don't know who that is. And then, like, I went to go look for him, and, like, he's gone.
He's gone. He mowed the whole front lawn, and he left without even asking $1. Like, why did you do that? Like, and...
I can't believe they paid someone to do that.
Yeah, professional gear. He, like, you know, he came up with this pickup truck or something, and he put, you know, whatever, but then he was gone. You know, when we wanted to find out who he was gone. You know.
Trying to struggle with the little one. Yeah.
And we've never seen him ever again. You know?
What day was it? I was like,
No, I don't know. I don't remember.
We're all here, so maybe there's somebody other day.
I don't know.
How about 26th Avenue when Prabhu was giving a lecture and this homeless guy came in.
Right. Toilet paper, yeah. Yeah, Prabhupada said that. Okay, anybody else has anything else? Avadhuta Chandra.
I will do it.
I was just reflecting and thinking back to when I first got to go to Sridham Mayapur, and Deva Vrata Prabhu was already there, and he was like in the Brahmacharya ashram, and he knew the landscape so well. And we had gone to Srimad Bhagavatam class. I remember just sitting down. I was like, wow, this is so awesome. And then class ends, and he runs up to us. He's like, come on, you guys have to get prasadam from the Pancha Tattva. I said, wow, like, okay, let's do it. And we hop into a long, long line, and you're sitting there waiting to approach the deities, and there's a big, like, pujari on the altar handing out prasadam. Huge, massive devotee. And he has this large plate of all this different kinds of prasadam, and he's just putting it, like, grabbing little pieces of all these different preparations and just, like, slapping it in devotees' hands. And I remember taking that prasadam. It was like a mixture of all these like magical substances. That blew my mind. That was far out. It was just like all the Panchatattva's mercy and just like taking that. Yeah, I'll never forget that experience.
Jai.
It's a new thing. Okay. So, I was just thinking, just this Saturday, Nolly and I, we were, I remember we were just shooting Bhagavatams, right? And it started raining. And, we just had 2 hours left, and, we were at 18 Bhagavatams. I told Nally, we got to distribute at least 12 more Bhagavatam sets, And then we really thought that's impossible, like how is that going to happen? 50, you have to think about it, like an hour and a half left. That Jacksonville Patel Brothers closes earlier too. So we were thinking, how are we going to do this, man? Like, we got to do this, bro. And then somehow or the other, in a matter of 1.5 hours, all of a sudden we just went off. And we got that one guy who bought like 4 Bhagavatam sets in a shot. And then like 2 back-to-back, 2 homies with 2 Bhagavatam sets. And then we were like, okay, we're 8 down. We just have to do 4 more now. Why 4? Let's do more. And then, like, we just in a matter of an hour and a half, we went from 18 to 33 Bhagavatam. Wow. 15 Bhagavatams in, like, Bhagavatam sets, for, like, in no time, just Bhagavatam just flew out. And I was thinking, more than anything, when, in the Comic-Con, I was thinking that all these people who bought Bhagavatam sets from us, most of them, they were really, I'm shocked. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what I was saying. But when they bought a Bhagavatam, their life just completely transformed. Yeah. I think this has to be the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. It can't be anything else. The people at Atlanta, I mean, like, one guy, like, I don't even know what he was saying. He didn't know what I was saying. And bro, buy a Bhagavatam, bro. He's like, yeah. He's like, 300, okay, yeah. And then I really like leave a tip. No. I said, all right. And then he just bought the Bhagavatam and he's carrying a Bhagavatam around Comic-Con in his hand. The whole set.
Crazy.
This guy's nuts. I mean, it has to be the mercy of Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah.
It has to.
It's amazing.
And remember last thing, like eating the, like Satya Mataji, like, is the one who, like, brought me up in Krishna consciousness. And then I remember one of the first times she had made me a plate of prasadam and I was eating it, I was completely high. And I was eating with another devotee, and me and the devotee were looking at each other like, whoa. Like, no, I wasn't high. I gave all that up. Like 7 months after I got in there. It was so amazing. I was completely like Nick said in the video, zooted. It was really exciting. Anyway, awesome.
Jai. Abhimanyu Sutta. Yeah, go on.
It's nothing special, but I mean, most of my life, I went around the temple in Uttalavan, but I had no idea of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and like any of them. I didn't know anything about them. The only thing I knew was the Gaura deities up there. My brother, like when we were like 6 or 7, he told me that was Krishna and Balaram. So like my whole life, I thought the Gaura deities were Krishna and Balaram.
Oh my God, this is too much.
My whole life, I thought it was Krishna and Balaram. He told me that when I was. Yeah, he said he stood there. That's Krishna, that's Balaram. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And the whole life, I had no conception of Lord Chaitanya. But I just remember, of course, that first plate of prasad is like really amazing. But the point being is when I found out about Lord Chaitanya, it was so far out because most religions are so all reverential. God's up there, God's not coming down here. And it's almost like this feeling of God is dead, and he's left us to rot down here. So when I found out about Lord Chaitanya coming just like 500 years ago, it was just so far out to me. The fact that God came down here to earth 500 years ago, it was just so amazing to me.
Yeah.
It was like very, very personable. Like, wow, like he came down here 500 years ago. Like, to me, that was so comforting. Like, that's so amazing. And just a little time forward, Chandrasekhar Prabhu would come down in Uttalavan and he would teach me. And I just remember he told me, you see, Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, you pray to them because they're even more merciful to even rascals like you. And ever since then, I was like, I'm so much more. I'm really inclined to praying toward Gornitai.
Yeah.
I'm always inclined because naturally it's like, you go where the mercy's at. I need mercy. So I'm like every morning. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, they're more merciful. I'm gonna pray to them. You tell me I'm gonna pray to them. So it's like when you find out how merciful they are, it's just so attracting. It's really amazing.
Okay, Mataji's? Anybody has anything? Yes, Mahabhoga Mataji. You have to pin that.
I have many experiences I can think of, but I'll talk about, we went to Piedmont Park, me and Topaz, to go to a reggae festival. And, I had a lot of questions about why I was in Atlanta, and I was just praying. And I remember just asking a question, God, what is your name? I keep saying, God, who are you? And then we was in Piedmont Park, and we were lost, and somebody asked us a question, and then it turned us around. And anyhow, Abhimanyu was calling us, Prabhu was calling us, and he said, oh, would you like these books? And so I remember touching the books, and something just happened. I was no longer in Piedmont Park. I was someplace else, and I was looking around, and I was confused because I was like, where am I? What's happening? I couldn't even hear what he was saying at all. I was just like, what's going on? And it was like, wow, whatever you want. You want me to give you what? Sure, no problem. I'm taking these books. And we ended up getting the Bhakta stack, and I remember just holding the books and looking, and I flipped them over, and I saw, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I was like, what is he doing? What's happening? But before, as I'm looking at the books, I just hear on my mind you say, oh, by the way, God's name is Krishna. And I just was like, that was my question.
Oh, amazing.
So it was just really blissful.
Jai. Great answer.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So my experience was during the Prabhupada Marathon, and me and Mahabhoga, we went to like 3 locations on Cascade Road. Yeah, we
got kicked out of each one of them? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't working out. We weren't getting as many books out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we went to Walmart, and then we went to the Publix on that street. And I think I only had about 15 Bhakta stacks I already got out. So it was about an hour and 30 minutes left of book distribution because we had to be back at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So we were at Sunset. Yeah, Sunset. So we were at Home Depot. Now, Home Depot is a really good reciprocative spot. And at that point, I had maybe 20 Bhaktas. So I probably didn't even have that many. 10, right. It was really low. But I was just like, I'm not going to meet my quota. I had a quota meet. I'm not going to meet it. So then I get a phone call from Mahotsava Prabhu, and he was just like, Montaji, your quota's changed. I said, wait, what? And I said, well, I was like, he's like, your new quota is 35 Bhakta stacks, something like that. 10 late. And I was just like, it was 30 minutes left of book distribution. And I was like, I can't do this. He was like, make it happen. And it just hung up the phone. I was just like, okay. And then I told Mahabhoga Mataji, I said, Mahabhoga Mataji, I got a new quota to meet. And so I was just like, it's 30 minutes left. I don't know what to do. Can you I don't know how long it's going to take. We might be out here for a little bit longer. And I think Lekha Sharmati was out. She was like, calling. She's like, where are you all at? What's happening? What's going on? I was like, Montaji, I have a new quota to meet. I don't know what's happening. So as soon as I got off the phone, and as soon as he hung up the phone, Bhakta stacks was just going out. I was talking 5 people, and then they both got 2 Bhakta stacks each. And at the end of the night, I think I did about 40 that I got out. I think I got out 40.
You did higher than your quota?
I did higher than my quota.
Wow.
So then I was just like, you know what? I felt... So I was like, at that moment, I felt like the little droplet of mercy just from Lord, because for me, the Sankirtan movement, the book distribution is the best incarnation of,
Jai.
Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda that I can possibly think of. So that moment, I'm like, this is real.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so I think we'll end here. Thank you very much. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Gaura Purnima Mahamahotsav ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnava.